Now hold on, I know what you're thinking. You read the title of this video, you looked at the thumbnail, and you're thinking, wow, it's finally happened. The Crucible bros have lost it, they've gone off the deep end, they've been domed by the Immortal one too many times, and now they're out here recommending 180 hand cannons. And while you may be correct about those assumptions, I'm here today as an advocate, an ambassador for the Trust is Actually Good bandwagon to recommend to you to try this 180 hand cannon, to go and play Gambit, so you may experience what I believe to be the secret sauce, the special individual, the chosen one, the Ultra Instinct Goku of 180 hand cannons, and that is the return of the God King Trust, okay? Now, as an acolyte, as a leader of a cult, you're gonna have to put a lot of trust in me. So here's your Kool-Aid, here's your Drifter-approved sword, yes, it is Hive, and look out, because there are opinions on the field, and where we're going, we're gonna need them. Anyways, my name is Lionhearts, welcome back to the Crucible Brothers, and today we're gonna be reviewing the Trust hand cannon in the current PvP sandbox. Before we get any further, make sure you guys take a second, like the video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel to help out with the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate it every time you like. I feel one happiness, so if you want me to be happy, make sure you like the video. And let's get right into it. So, you may be asking yourself a few questions, mainly why Trust out of all of the other 180 hand cannons? Well, first of all, I was brought to my attention that I wanted to go after Trust right away when Lightfall came out, because Trust for me is one of my favorite hand cannons of all time in Destiny history. If we go all the way back to Forsaken, when things were simpler and a better time in the world, Trust was what got me through my original climb in competitive to get my Luna's Howl. Because if you remember back then, the Luna's Howl you had to go 2100 rank in competitive, and you had to get a certain number of solar hand cannon final blows, so I kind of did both at the same time by using the solar hand cannon Trust. Now obviously back then, not only was I bad, Trust was definitely bad. I don't know how I did it, but we did it, and over time I grew to really enjoy the hand cannon. Obviously now it's been sunset from PvP for a very long time, so now that it's back with a new juicy perk pool, I was ready to take a look, and I was not disappointed. Firstly, we gotta take a look at those perks and those stats, and then we'll get into the secrets behind why Trust is goated with the sauce. Heading on over to light.gg here, we can use a stat comparison tool to take a look at Trust versus some other popular 180 hand cannon choices in Posterity, Survivor's Epitaph, and of course the Chode Frontier's Cry. And now, this is again where you guys are going to doubt me a little bit here, because looking at this, what does Trust really have to offer? It's statistically worse than the Posterity, it's admittedly a bit better than Survivor's Epitaph, and yeah, about the same if not a little bit worse than the Frontier's Cry. Well, a few things to keep in mind here. While yes, it loses in some of the counting stats, it doesn't lose by much to its competition, and compared to Posterity specifically, what you got to keep in mind here is that not only does it have second in class aim assist, Trust does, it also has second in class recoil direction out the gate compared to its competitors. So Trust right away has great hit detection and great feel with its mostly vertical recoil direction out the box. Where things get a lot better is when we start looking at the perk pool. Now, like other ritual weapons, this perk pool is long, but frankly, there's a lot of heat here. There's a lot of bangers going around. In the left column, heating up, surplus, rapid hit, opening shot. Pair that with primarily golden tricorn, but also adrenaline junkie, frenzy, rampage, or harmony. There's a lot of ways to activate the 180 potential here, which means that we're hunting for 3 taps in the Crucible. I think the best way to go about this is to hunt golden tricorn. Golden tricorn is quickly becoming my favorite damage perk overall in the game for its ease of use, its simplicity, and its scorching hot damage boost at base. With Tricorn active, you're going to be hitting 70 to the dome, comfortably letting you 3-tap all resiliences, and that's a great place to be, because that's what you want out of 180s. You're sacrificing the fact that your base time to kill is significantly worse than the majority of the game. But if you can get that kill, you are now shredding at that lethal 0.67 TTK cadence at hand cannon distances, and that can be very surprising and hard to deal with for the enemy team. So if you can enable a golden tricorn roll, you're going to be rolling people as soon as you can secure those final blows. An ideal roll for me would be rapid hit or opening shot with golden tricorn and crank that range. We're not really concerned with our stability here because of what is actually making Trust so lethal. So I've definitely beat around the bush so far about this, so I'm just going to get right to it. Basically, every once in a while, you run into a weapon that simply just has a better model compared to its competitors. One of the biggest annoyances of 180 hand cannons is that they bounce vertically with their recoil, very much like the Crimson hand cannon. So, if you have a big, bulky model like the Survivor's Epitaph or the Frontier's Cry, and sometimes the Posterity, that means you're flipping up a bunch of stuff into your sight picture when you're fighting opponents. And that means opponents with slippery movement, or, bad connections, or just a general jank that can come into a Destiny 2 game can make it very hard to actually track your targets. Especially on mouse and keyboard where you don't have the benefit of the high aim assist that 180 hand cannons tend to benefit from. Trust, by comparison, has an incredibly slim profile in its model, especially its barrel. Its barrel is basically non-existent. There's very little stuff getting in the way of your sight picture when you were spam firing this hand cannon. And it's one of the lucky few weapons in this game to have access to legendary weapon ornaments. And it gets even better if you have access to the Doubt ornament. Look at the difference in your sight picture versus base Trust. Do you see how much more of your screen you have access to with this ornament equipped? It is night and day. It's like Vigilance Wing base versus its Vigil of Saint 14 ornament's level of clarity here. If you have access to this Trust ornament, you have a significant advantage over other Trust users, and you have access to arguably the best sight picture for 180 hand cannons in the game. And it makes playing with this weapon a absolute dream. This is just like the idyllic 180 hand cannon. It's smooth, it's straightforward, it's snappy, it's crispy, it's connective, it's got that high aim assist, that great recoil direction, and then when you get that kill, you start dealing out those 3 taps and ooh, it feels so good. It's a hard thing to quantify, but I'm not joking when I say that Trust does not feel like its stats. It feels better than what the stat sheet says. And when I'm using it, it just simply feels built different. I put it in the title for a reason, and I stand by it. Trust has something that other 180 hand cannons don't have. And if you're at all an enthusiast for 180 hand cannons, you need to pursue this weapon. Yes, Gambit is just not fun. I acknowledge that. But god darn it, it's worth it for a weapon this special. It's an iconic Gambit weapon, and man, it holds up in Lightfall. I'm just going to gush about this weapon for another few minutes because I've genuinely enjoyed using it even in this hostile meta. Now, admittedly, you have to adjust how you play the game when you use a 180 hand cannon because it's just not the same. You're dealing with a 1 second base time to kill. That means you're losing to basically every other base time to kill in the game. So you have to play opportunistically. You have to put yourself into good situations to activate your damage perks and then wheel, deal, ruin, tune, and shooting afterwards. So you gotta move with your team a little bit. You have to use your special weapons as primers. You have to use certain builds, like I love ability builds with 180 hand cannons, so stuff like Ashen Wake on Titan, where you can just get instant big chip with your grenade, or maybe some melee ability based stuff if that's what you're into. But you basically want to be able to prime targets, finish them with the Trust, and then boom, it's time to jump into action. And man, Golden Tricorn is so good for this because compared to the other damage perks, it has that nice beefy 7-second timer, so you can really wheel and deal, and self-refreshes. It's just immaculate. Focusing specifically on the Ashen Wake side of things on Titan, maybe we'll do another video on this later on about this build specifically, but obviously when you get Golden Tricorn, if you get an ability kill matching the elements, you get an even further damage boost. And I was playing Iron Banner last night before recording this video, and I got it. I got the Trust kill into an Ashen Wake Fusion Grenade kill, and then the wildest thing happened. I hit for 90 per shot with a 180 hand cannon and then hit something for 100 damage. I was literally stun locked. I had no idea that Golden Tricorn times 2 could do that kind of damage. And seeing a 90 crit from a hand cannon that normally does 50 damage was ridiculous. You can hear it in my voice. I really enjoyed my time with Trust. I think despite its flaws, despite the flaws of its archetype, it is absolutely worth your time to get your ass into Gambit, grind one out, and give it a shot. If you have the Doubt ornament, you're one step ahead. Even regardless, this hand cannon just has something different about it, and frankly, it's been one of my most enjoyable things to use so far this season. So if you guys have used Trust, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about 180s in general. They're definitely a hot topic, a bit of a forgotten archetype. So let's talk about how we can make them better in the comments down below. While you're there, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace!